Hey YouTube, coming at you with top teams for Galar Cup. So there is also Great League on this afternoon. We'll do a top Great League teams, but we're going to do top Galar Cup teams here. And this one's kind of interesting to try and team build for. So it's a 1500 CP league, but Pokemon only found in Sword and Shield. And the problem with that is this is a Pokedex league. And what makes it difficult to team build is, so let's just look at what we had last time in Psychic Cup. Psychic Cup was easy to build for and understand the main meta because everything had to be Psychic. So things that had Ghost type moves like Astonish were ahead. Malamar, which is half dark and neutralizes that weakness, was ahead. Pokemon that like chipped neutral situations, like Claydol, were ahead. So it was very easy just to look at like the type, the move sets, and the stats of those, and just figure out like, okay, this makes sense why it's ahead and why it's not ahead. Here it's trickier because you're like, okay, what is actually in this? What is out? I don't like, again, unless you don't know, if you know the Sword and Shield's off by heart, great. Most probably do not. Well, I don't know if most do not. I'd assume most do not know the whole Pokedex off by heart. So we're left with this list of top 20 Pokemon based on PVPOKE ranking. So then we need to look at it and say like, okay, why are some things higher when some things lower? And it comes down to, I think, like 2 or 3, I'm going to call them, I don't know if strategy is the right word. We'll call them groupings. The first grouping is what I'm just going to call bulky Pokemon that are strong in the open Great League anyways. Diggersby, Mandibuzz, Toxapex, Gastrodon, Dusknoir to a certain extent as well. So these Pokemon are already pretty strong in the open Great League because they have a lot of bulk, decent to good movesets, and then the typings are generally okay for open as well. So here, that's basically the same thing here. Some get just a buff up because there's certain other Pokemon not in this meta that would be like some of their answers. But otherwise, those are the reasons that they're still sort of top. And then you have to just kind of look at the list. Okay, like what else is in here? What am I seeing? What am I not seeing? So the first thing that came off to me, even though Weezing is labeled as a poison there, it is half fairy. There's actually quite a lot of fairies at the top. Galarian Weezing at Shadow at 1 and the non-Shadow at 7. And then we have Clefable at 4 and Togetic at 6. And A9tails is a half ice at 14, but is also fairy. So there's quite a lot of fairies in this meta. So one or two things is happening. There is just a lot of stuff that fairy hits it super effective against in this meta. Dark and Mandibuzz is up there. I see Galade and Pangoro, which are fighting in Dark and fighting there. So right off the bat, you're like, okay, we've got some in the top 20 that I can hit. The second thing that came to my mind was stuff that's going to beat stuff that's going to beat fairy, such as steals, are probably not around as much. And I was just doing a PVPOKE search. I'm like, are there a lot of steals? And the top ranked steal is Mawile, Shadow Mawile at 32, and then there's Steelix at 37, and then you're getting down to like Ferrothorn at 51, Togedemaru at 57, Berserker at 62. So there are some, but again, nothing in like only like 2 Pokemon in the top, maybe 3 in the top 50 here. So with that, it's like, okay, if only 3 Pokemon in the top 50 are steals, then you probably have an advantage with the fairies that you're probably not going to see as many. So I think that's why the fairies get buffed. Because there is Galarian Weezing as a number 1 ranked Pokemon and Toxapex in the top 5, means grounds have a little bit of advantage as well. So Hello Quagsire at number 9 and 19, kind of to deal with that. Drapion at 11 and 12. I think Drapion is just one of the best safe swaps in the Great League and Ultra League right now. So I think that's why it gets such a buff. Just super, super, super spammy with the Poison Sting Octail Crunch combo. And now we get into sort of the random stuff. Pangoro's up there because Karate Chop is just such a hard move. So even if you have a lot of fairies here, it's just such a hard move with close combat and Night Slash. You can deal with kind of everything else. Drifblim, same thing. The Astonish buff, it was, I think, underrated in the Open Great League, but if there's probably less normal typings here where Astonish has more play. Like if there's less, let me just look up normal, because in the Open Great League, there is Dunsparce everywhere. There is, I was going to say Miltank, but not so much Miltank. Licky, right? And I just put in normal to PVPOKE, and the top one is Diggersby, and then we jump down to Munchlax and Greedent. So there's probably way less, there's not many of the core normals as there are. So now as a ghost type user, it gets buffed. Quillfish, I guess, gets by on... Quillfish is an interesting one because it's half poison, half water. It's one of the top ranked safe swap because it has poison sting, which got buffed, and it's just very spammy. It only takes 4 poison sting to an Octail, and then 7 the first ice beam, and then 6 for the other ones. So with the spamminess, I think it just has play, and because there's a lot of fairies and other poisons near the top, being a poison yourself kind of gives you an advantage. So I think that's why it's up there. And then there's the Ninetales, both fire and ice. Again, I think the ice is also because it's half fairy, gets up there, and then there are some like Diggersby and Mandibuzz you can hit super effective with ice. And then Ninetales, fire resist fairy. So if you're going to have some fairy users at the top, might as well have a fire user which resists them. Then Whimsicott is also your half fairy too. I forgot Whimsicott. Whimsicott's also a fairy. So there is the best strategy for team building here. You can try some of my teams. How I team build, you're going to see a lot of these in the Open Great League. I've been doing like more ABB style teams and stuff like that. But I think for right now, based on this meta, I think a lot of these are just like balanced team with a safe swap. And I think probably that's the best way to go until you figure out what the meta is going to be. I assume the meta will be kind of what we're seeing here. I think there's also some other core breakers like Abomasnow and stuff that I already mentioned in Open Great League that are strong that aren't listed in the top 20 here, but I think should be pretty strong as well. So let's just look at some teams and kind of go over why I put them together and that. So the first one was Galarian Weezing was the number 1. The Shadow was ranked number 1. The non-Shadow was 6. Not everyone has the Shadow, so I'm going to just build with the non-Shadow. Again, it is generally safe. It is actually the number 1 ranked safe swap Pokemon in this meta, Galarian Weezing. And that is just because with the fairy, when you're super spammy, so even if you get like a ground like Diggersby or Quagsire, which you do lose, like you lose to like the Mud Slap users, Gastrodon, you lose to Diggersby, you lose to Quagsire, but they're not filled in circles, which means you still chip and not just a product of your spamminess. So you're going to have problems against, again, a lot of the ground type users. But then I was like, okay, but you are the number 1 safe swap in this meta. So let's try and get 2 Pokemon that are balanced and use you as a safe swap. So then Quagsire and Abomasnow. Basically, Quagsire has an insane amount of coverage, except it's going to be weak to grass, and then your grass ice will handle those weaknesses. So basically those 2 are the balance, and then Galarian Weezing is your safe swap. So that's how I would use team number 1. Let's go to team number 2. Diggersby is a top ranked Pokemon. Again, with quick attack, Scorching Sands, and Fire Punch, it feels generally safe. I'm thinking like Drift Blim and Mandibuzz, yeah. Your flyers, anything that resists the Scorching Sands is going to cause you your problems. So you need an answer to flyers. A la Ninetales. It's running Powder Snow, so deal with all the flyers, and then we need a safe swap. And Drapion is one of the best safe swaps in this meta. It's probably ranked the 2nd best safe swap behind Galarian Weezing, maybe 3rd. But it's definitely a top safe swap in Open Great League. It's a top safe swap in Ultra League, and I like it here as well. So again, Diggersby, Ninetales cover each other's weaknesses, and then your Drapion as a safe swap. Clefable is also top ranked, and then you put it in the Sims, and it has some dominant matchups, but the dominant matchups are usually against Pokemon where you hit super effective, Machamp, Pangoro, Malamar, Mandibuzz, and then you lose the rest, which is not fitting. That's not great. However, it is same thing. You see no filled in circles here, which means that is generally safe. You will win some, you will lose some. But if you use it as a safe swap and get ahead by a Fairy Wind or 2, it could potentially be very strong. So that is why it is the safe swap on this team. Usually I put it in the middle, but I was kind of building around like the top ranked Pokemon, and then I was like, okay, where does it play? How does it play and stuff like that? So I use that as a safe swap. And then you need 2 Pokemon to cover each other's weakness. So Gastrodon, Mud Slap user, double weak to grass. Charizard with Fire Spin, Flyer, Fire. They're gonna double resist grass. So there's your 2 combo with Clefable as your safe swap there. So as you can see, we're 3 teams in, and it's been 3 balanced teams, which has before I've not usually done that. This team is both ABB, weak to ice, but also triple weak to electric. Now, there's not a lot of electric in this meta. As much as I love Togedemaru, there is still Gastrodon, there is Quagsire, and Whiscash in this meta. So I don't think that Togedemaru is going to make, and Charger Bug are going to make big comebacks because of that. But there is Lantern running Water Gun, right? So that would kind of help you a little bit with these flyers. And then Togedemaru and Charger Bug are your top 100 electric, and then 135 is Galvantula. So there's some electric. This is ABB. Weak to ice was the main way I put it together, even though it has that triple electric weakness. So Togetic is a pretty good safe swap as well. Just pretty spammy, sneaky bulk. Mandibuzz can get a little more punished with your fairies, so I think Togetic has a little bit better option. So I lead Toxapex, safe swap Togetic, and then try and draw like an ice. The problem is it's not a true ABB style team. So if you've watched this channel for a while, in the truest form, ABB style teams are 2 Pokemon in the back with the exact same typing and same weaknesses and a front to punish. So the oldest one was Grasshole, where you had Bastiodon lead. You came in with one of your grass poison Pokemon in Shadow Vic or Tropius or one of the other ones. Actually, Tropius is that's a bad example because Tropius is half flying. What was the other one? People didn't really use Gloom. But a second grass poison. And then your first one goes down, and then your front, like Bastion, would punish the ice or fire, and then your other one was free. When you use something like this, they're both flyers, but Togetic is also half fairy and Mandibuzz is half dark. So Mandibuzz also picks up a fairy weakness, and Togetic picks up like a poison weakness. So it's not, as you can see here, like Togetic loses to Toxapex really hard, and then Mandibuzz loses to Ninetales very hard. So it's not like a true form of that. So it's a little more risky, but I think it has enough coverage in this meta that I think it could potentially still work despite its limitations. But again, it's one thing to like try and team build, and then another thing to use it in action. Okay, Ninetales, Drifblim, Quillfish. So there is a double weakness in Ninetales and Quillfish, double weak to ground. As you can see, Gastrodon smacks Ninetales and then still does good against Quillfish. Quillfish is half poison, so it's double weak to ground. That said, Quillfish does have Aqua Tail, so it kind of helps with some of the ground weaknesses. And then obviously, so it's like ABA weak to ground, and then Drifblim as your flyer is going to be the one to deal with all the ground type Pokemon, and having Icy Wind as well can help you out there. This maybe, again, I don't know what I'm playing yet this week. Leave a comment below what you're playing this week. I don't know if people are going to be playing Open Great League more, or if they're going to be playing this cup more. So leave a comment below which one you're going to be playing more of, because those are the ones I'll focus the videos on. I feel like this is one where it's like the sum of the parts are probably better than the collective whole. Like each individual part is better than the sum of the collective whole. I really love Ninetales. I think Drifblim is so strong now with Astonish. And then Quillfish has kind of always been those like kind of sneaky, spammy one that can do very, very well, but also is pretty glassy, so it can get punished. So this team's pretty glassy. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I think each of these Pokemon is pretty strong. So maybe you want to build it with like a bulkier Pokemon. Use like 1, maybe 2 to build a bulkier Pokemon. And this one, I was just like, I'm trying to like, okay, what could maybe also work in a meta dominated by like poison and flyers and stuff like that. So I just put Whimsicott, Barkill. I don't actually know how to pronounce that. And Dusknoir together. Dusknoir is like super, super bulky, but you're obviously going to have problems with the 2 of the top meta, Diggersby and Mandibuzz. But you are very, very, very bulky with an Astonish buff or Sucker Punch buff. So you need answers for the top Pokemon. So Whimsicott as your flyer grass. Sorry, not flyer grass. Fairy grass will deal with, this is Whimsicott. This is not Jumpluff. Fairy grass will deal with Diggersby and Mandibuzz. And I think this I don't even know who the safe swap is here because they can all get punished. So I don't even know if I would honestly suggest this team. I like, it's one of those where like I tried to put a different team together to try and get a little off the board. But I truly do think that out of these three, I think Whimsicott and Dusknoir do have play actually, and they probably do cover each other's weakness actually very well. Maybe get rid of the middle Pokemon here and put a better save swap in. That's how I would actually do this. I'd keep Whimsicott, Dusknoir, and then I put in a better Pokemon to deal with some of the maybe Ice type Pokemon, because you have Poison weakness and Whimsicott, but then you have Ghost type Pokemon which will resist the poison. So then you kind of need a save swap to deal with like some of the ice weaknesses that you have here, maybe dark. So maybe just a better save swap will kind of help that out there. But that is it. Yeah, it's one of those where it's just like it may take some trial through error sort of things. You can just start with some of like the bulky or safe Pokemon that you know work well, or just some of the spammier Pokemon that you know work well. So like Galarian, Weezing, Diggersby, Mandibuzz, Clefable, Gastrodon, Drapion, like any sort of, not any combo of these, but like combo these sort of stronger Pokemon. I think it's pretty safe. And then when you see what's out there, and if something's rising to the top, then you could try and like either counter it or play with it yourself if you think it's very strong. So I think that's how I go from here. But yeah, we'll do some top Great League teams this afternoon, and then we'll probably do one of each tomorrow. And then honestly, based on views, we're going to go from there. I think maybe we'll do like 1-1 for Wednesday, Thursday, and then based on whatever people are watching, I'll just do more of for the rest of the week. But let me know below what you think about this league. Let me know what you're going to be playing. If any Pokemon you see on this list that you think is going to be very strong, or a Pokemon not on this list that you think is going to be strong, or something's overrated here that you think, let me know. Comments below. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.